So hi everyone, today in this video, mental models, as I've been saying, are representations about how the reality works. And they are so models that your brain can absorb and so can use it in a faster way than just like pieces of knowledge. They're like representation, a whole model that explains why the information is useful, in what context can be useful, in what so was the context that was taken, and then so obviously where you can use and how to use to maximize so that knowledge being grasped by you. And then so obviously I'm someone that supports that as much better you are decision making, better you're gonna have so prosperity. And then so obviously for be a better decision maker, you're gonna have to get better type of information as possible about how the reality works. And then so I really expect you to help me by subscribing and afterwards seeing so other videos to make you a better person. And then so today we're going to talk about disruptive innovation, how small players change entire industries. And that specific one is the model that's taken from the technology field. So what's the best way to start? Always with the question, why do industry giants sometimes fail while small startups so take over? So what explains this phenomenon of we seeing kinda a solid industry giant that quickly falls because a small startup that, if you look probably for what our tendency is to look for familiarity, so people that are already so accustomed we getting served with a product from some specific type of company, what explains them switching so for new one. So all the type of relationships or bureaucracy that kind of avoids new type of startups to emerge in the markets than normally. So the big giants they tend to create so to remain on top for most time. What explains even when like in the probabilities, the likelihood of some small one startups being almost close to zero, even with that they kind of meet and they are able to succeed. So we're gonna try to explain it looking so all the disruptive innovation that they tend to represent as well can be so logic, and so probably how much easier they are able so to innovate in order to create something more valuable for people. That ultimately is what people tends to look for, things that are more they're better for them and not just for what are so familiarity. So and then what we'll have to look definition, disruptive innovation is what so these small startups tend to rely on and they're able to do this than the industry giants. But what is a disruptive type of innovation? So it's like when a simpler or cheaper or more successful technology or qualitatively talking as something type different than what is accustomed enter the market and eventually replace existing dominant players' products. The KD is unlike traditional competition where companies fight over improvements in terms of the incremental ones. The disruptive innovations change the entire game, often by targeting certain customers first, and then after enter for ones that are so the majority of population. So we have the phase one, the low-end entry. Disruptor starts by serving a niche market ignored by big companies, and early version may seem inferior, but they improve over time because they're kind of able to make a product that is more flexible. So they're more like tolerance to fail because kind of they're starting. They don't have like a reputation to protect. No, they put a product, their ideas. They focusing on some small type of targets that are not meet as good as so are the majority of the people, that so are the main focus of the big type of companies. And that's so the small startups they start by just so getting the small parts of the system of clients, but obviously by focusing on the ones that you can provide already something better than the generalist type of solution that the big giants tend to provide. And then so obviously this gives like a floor, then they can rely, and they so they start and rely and launch their minimal type of available products. Then so they get receive feedback from these people, and then over the time by having more flexibility, by not spending all the budget, they improve the product over the time. So after going on, we have some performance gains because technology matures. It moves up market because some people obviously are the early adopters, but it spreads in a social network that's easier as more than any time in the past. We have social media and we can spread things that we consume. We can promote in social media new technology. You can so apply marketing strategies, branding, and then so obviously as technology matures, that's where so enters for a new market as better than what initially was. And then obviously it moves so it by moving up market, attracting mainstream consumers who previously used established solution. After that, we have some market takeover. So by the time industry leaders react, the reality is that the disruptor has already built momentum, often making the whole way of doing things obsolete. So classic examples, it's easier, Netflix versus Blockbuster. Netflix started DVD rental by mail services, appealing to niche consumers. Over time, it leveraged streaming technology and crushed Blockbuster. Smartphones and obviously feature phones. Early smartphones were expensive and limited. As they proved, they made regular phones irrelevant. Electric cars and gasolines. Tesla first focused on high-end EVs, but as battery tech advances, electric cars are set to dominate the entire industry. So basically, we have already talked in a prior video how what explains why these disruptive type of technology that obviously so they are kind of intrinsically better, what explains why they're mainly so made by some of the peoples and not like the tech giants that even it kind of seems like a paradox, but even they're kind of the ones that are like likely have so a less likelihood so to do, even if they kind of have more budget. But the reality is that they enter in a paradox of choice, or they start spending their money on things that are not so not improved. And the reality is that opportunity cost is higher for this company because they could so spending that same produce, making incremental so changes for better in products that are already tested by markets. While other ones startups they don't have nothing to lose, so they're just focusing in some specific niche and provide this new type of products just for them. And then so by them not having that much to lose, they don't have like some type of loss aversion that the small giants tend to have, and as well the inertia. So I have inertia to just sustain in type of formulas that have been proven as truth. Even obviously I can be a trade-off then when disruptive type of technology can emerge. I have not so developed a plan to face it because I've not developed, I don't have the technology, don't have the patents are already established, I cannot copy, and then so obviously I can see a high type of loss in my consumer type of my consumer base. And then so obviously it's a simple concept. Opportunity cost now playing here. Opportunity cost for the big companies spending their budget in trying to create new things that are not tested for them is high rather than spending that same amount they prefer in the certain and remaining investing in things that already so are things tested and already have demand, and we prefer so to spend it instead of playing and trying so to bet in research and develop type of sell segments in my company. And that's so something that's normal, but obviously it's a trade-off. As a trade-off you can by doing something you're losing certainly other one, and then so sometimes these other ones kind of hinder space so for new type of startups emerge. And obviously sometimes you could say that why so they don't allocate money so for these type of new searches for new technologies, because sometimes by doing it they're losing budget for some other ones type of big companies that are so competizing by the mainstream type of consumers. So it's a trade-off, it's basically a trade-off. You're when doing something you're always losing something. It's just like probably choices that you see was the one that brings you a higher likelihood to succeed, and the majority of times is so by not investing in new projects and so focusing just in the one that I'm doing it. But then so obviously sometimes these type of things that are tragedies so for these big companies that they so skyrocket into negative terms so by losing market share, then they could face. So but you how you can enjoy this disruptive innovation wherever you're in a big company that so wants to not fall in not having diversification in technology that it provides, or if so you are a startup that wants to focus in these type of markets so that are not being attended, and you can also a disruptive innovation different from what is the basal to offer in the market right now. So look for undeserved markets. New innovations often start by serving overlooked consumers. Look for that overlooked consumers. Airbnb initially catered to budget travelers ignored by hotels. So it's a good example. Embrace simplicity and accessibility. So you're producing something for someone. So disruptive innovation often win by making things easier, not just better. So think about how Zoom disrupted traditional video conferencing. And obviously, thinking long term, big companies ignore disruptors at first, but technology improves exponentially, and small players can take over before industry leaders react. And make sure so to protect you by applying patents for your technologies in order to other ones not copy you. So I expect this video has make you gain certain type of insights, and see you in the next one.